So the only way for us to really step into our power is to actually step into truth with ourselves. And that's what the true self is for. The true self is not the shadow self. A lot of people get that mixed up. Yeah, they're afraid of looking at their true self. There's nothing to be afraid of when connecting with your true self, guys. All you will find there is love and compassion and empowerment and courage. Yeah, but it is the incongruence in you not really wanting to be that way, believing that you have to be something else. Yeah, that you have to be in a different way, or that you have to be somebody. Yeah, and that comes from your ego. Yes, there is a letting go process involved with that, namely to let go of your false self, let go of all these things. It makes you a conscious person, someone who knows what their power is, and someone who knows what their mission is. And that's extremely powerful. Welcome, everybody, to our True Self Talk. My name is Jona Bryndis, and with me are my colleagues here who co-facilitated this energy session. The True Self Talk is a live talk right after a self-healing session that we do remotely. So for those of you who are here for the first time, this is an internalized session. You've received instructions and an invocation to work with, some music to download, to tune into your own inner experience of the session. And here we take the opportunity to talk about it, to learn how to express these things, to freely share, among other people who are energetically sensitive, who have an experience, if you will. So welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming to this session at this auspicious time here with the full moon eclipse. So normally I do video for this True Self Talk, but it is still pretty dark out here. One of the things that were remarkable about this particular lunar eclipse was that it was pitch dark right before sunrise. So that's quite interesting here from my end. The first impression is that there was a lot going on. Yeah, so I have protocols here for all of you, and we as in the energy healers that facilitated this session will try to give you a little bit of a reflection and overview, so what came forward during the session. Does anybody want to comment right off the bat as for like their first impression of what it felt like for them to be in such a session right at the pinnacle of the eclipse? Does anybody dare to share? What was this like for you this last hour? Was it a session that you would describe as an easy session, or that brought up a lot of clearing symptoms?
For me, it was instantly emotional and clearing. That's a first for me.
Interesting. So you felt emotional. So you referring to this as an emotional clearing, Linda?
I don't know. I was just really caught off guard by the level of my emotions, and then sort of a clearing, and then really strong, clear messages.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because I was going to say there was a lot that came forward, and most of it was really clear. It wasn't just sort of a subtle half a second kind of impulse. It was like shouted at us and very clear. What was a message that you've perceived here? And mind you, Linda and everybody here, this is the internalization of your experience, okay? There's no right or wrong, okay? This is about you tuning in and really feeling into what is coming forward from within yourself. What were some of those messages, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, some of them were really personal and really pointed and clear. So, but the other ones were the ones that are easier to share is things like you must see everyone from their soul and only their soul and ignore that ego.
Yeah, I guess, you know, that's a good way of saying it for you. That is, Linda, right? This is something you understand, right? What does this mean to you? What does this mean to you?
Stop putting up with all that stuff.
Well, or getting distracted by it, right? Stop getting distracted by other people's, well, if you will, ego reactions. Go on your mission. Be on your quest. And part of your quest, Linda, is, seeing other people in that light. Yeah, we don't really have to call it soul per se. This was also one of the messages that I received here for the whole entire field. More like as true selves. Everybody is a true self. Yeah. And that is obviously, it's linked to soul because it's something that we would probably define as some kind of spirit or energetic being in us. Right? I mean, this is how we see it for ourselves. So the moment we start seeing ourselves as a true self, yeah, as an energetic or as a spirit being, in that moment we also have to recognize that others have that spirit being in them as well. And what's the problem with that? What's the problem? There's a question for all of you. Linda, you spot on, okay? In your energy, and this is why I'm not surprised that there's a lot of personal sort of do's and don'ts, whereby I would always pay attention to, the ones that actually have to do with empowering you. And they can come in as don'ts. Yeah, when there's very specific things that we think we need to do. But for the most part, you are on a mission right now. And that mission, I don't know what that is, obviously, but that is the part that you need to follow. And if it has to do with your, like your way of seeing other people, yeah, then don't get distracted. Don't let yourselves get yourselves off the path. Okay. Now coming back to the group, yeah, and these do's and don'ts and these things. Why is this such a big deal for us? Why is this so confusing for us? Why is it so hard for us to see others as a true self as well? People we know, people we don't know, the collective itself. What is it that makes it so hard for us? This is a big part here of the session. Does anybody else want to share?
Jona, that's something that seems to consistently run back and forth in my life. Like sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. And I think the hard part for me, about seeing others as their true self is the measurement that I have in me is what's normal for me. So sometimes when I don't see that normal in someone else, I think something's wrong with them. Just
Normal as in,
it's
how do
hard.
you mean this? Like as far as values and
Okay.
ethics and stuff is
Yes.
concerned, or
Well,
okay,
so
or how
I've
you
gone.
perceive things, how you see the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. So I've mostly gone past the moralistic judgment. Like that has
Okay, okay.
become gray for me for sure.
Mhm.
Just through my own life experience, but it's more like just let's speak practically. Like I'm a home and family person, like most of my life has to do with home and family. And so, there's where I'm grounded. And so when people are out there flaunting or, money is their God or, it's just like, wow, they're missing out, like they don't understand like the important things in life. That's what runs through my mind, you know.
And what's the feeling that is that, I mean, there's multiple ways to see what you just said or to understand it. Do you mean this in a sort of a pitying way, or do you mean this in a superior way, or in a judgmental way?
In a
How?
judgment,
What,
yeah,
okay.
definitely judgmental because I don't feel better or worse than anybody. It's just more like, wow, like, I just don't understand how, like how they're missing out on, the real life, like really connecting with people or it's just like, I guess like, almost like I want to teach them, not pity, like, oh, if I could just show them how great it could be if they would just connect, with other people or in some way other than just their outside material stuff,
This is
But
relevant. This is relevant for our time and also for the session, Cheryl. So this came forward for a reason. The question now is, what is the actual sort of piece here that's missing for you to not suffer from it or get confused by it, like you mentioned right when you started,
it,
like the hardship?
I do suffer and get confused by it. Some days I'm like, oh, this is clear. Like, like it's not my call. Like they'll connect if they want to connect. And maybe it's not, their soul journey. And then, especially what I do and who I see, then there's other times I think, oh, they just need to see how to connect. You know what I mean? Like somebody just needs to show them, like they're so struggling. And then then I go back to, well, that's not really my job, and maybe it's their soul journey, and and I'm talking this through like live with you and all the group, but it's like it goes very quickly in my mind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
Yeah,
there.
because you've been in that place so many times already, right? So
Yes,
it's
yes,
probably fair to say, Cheryl, that you sort of empathetically get it, what they're suffering from, but you
yes,
also understand the limitations of and not really being able to change anything for them, so
correct. Yes,
basically I pray for you, or if they
yes,
could only. Yeah, so this is relevant. Yeah, I confirmed this for you because this is really one of the big messages that came in here for all of us during this session, and that has to do with managing our empathy. Yeah, like being able to open our heart for others and to see them as the true selves, as the spirit beings that they are, but also seeing them in their struggles and not taking on that struggle. For you, Cheryl, okay, and this I can in this case here now speak for you, that one thing that really helps is to remind ourselves of our own journey. Yeah, to remind ourselves on how long it took for us to even be willing, yeah, to see ourselves as, not just this material 3D being. Yeah, because most of our struggles are around the material 3D, and this is where this is the ego's domain. The ego's domain is the physical survival. So it is very easy to get pulled into those fears and those those things that come with that, yeah, with caring for the physical, also the fears that come with that. And then also obviously, and this is I think the part that you need to see, the emotional confusion, yeah, the emotional, um well, it's almost like a stuckness. It's a dead end, it's a lockup. Okay, and here is the big message for all of you guys. When you find yourself caught in this place where you can feel other people's or the world's pain, do not shut your heart down. Instead, learn how you can manage that. So the solution is that you tune yourself into the greater good, if you will, to the greater wholeness of all true selves. So there's a place, if you will, where all true selves exist. It's part of the etheric. It's one of the layers, okay? And what we present here on this 3D level is not exactly the same. So the problem with that is the, you know, the discrepancies, yeah, the incongruencies. This is what creates schisms and fragmentations in us. Yeah, so we're not matching up with who we are, who we truly are, what we truly need, what we truly want, and why we're here. Okay, and this is obviously each and every one's personal responsibility to, you know, to at least strive for getting closer to, you know, that sort of impulse that comes from within ourselves. But we're all on our individuated journey. However, there also is a larger journey, like an overall evolution of consciousness. And that is what connects us all. That's this place where all true selves are one. Yeah, there is no such thing as a gender or ethnic, you know, inheritance or culture or religion or something in this place. It helps to see this from an energetic point of view. Yeah, even though it's considered to be spiritual, but it is not something that ties in with any kind of judgments or, you know, even the new age ascension notion, yeah, is one that is still based on ego values, because this whole idea of climbing up a ladder or getting better really isn't what this evolution is about. When it comes to the evolution that, you know, created all that exists, yeah, that created our solar system, you know, our planet, and everything that is contained in that field, right? Then you'll see that this isn't about a specific goal. That's a 3D notion, and therefore an ego notion, which is linked to our third chakras. Yeah, that's linked to our will, yeah, our personal will. And why? Here you see the chakra chart on your screen. And why is it so hard to get pulled into this? Because that's where we find quite a bit of life force. We find quite a lot of drive there, all right, to, you know, get things done and to, you know, be perfect and, you know, go out and conquer the world. Yeah, but it is also the part that disconnects us from others. So if that is not fully connected with the heart, okay, then what we will have is, you know, sort of in a world with all people that are only interested in the individuated evolution or the individual goals. All right, the part that we are learning here as collective right now is that that is not a very sophisticated concept. It's the ego concept is basically outdating itself right now. Yeah, so striving for individualism and self-gain and trying to be the best and, you know, conquering others and obviously also overpowering others, judging others, you know, connecting with them through righteousness and you should and you must and so forth is not a very high vibratory concept, because it disregards the individual soul self's evolutionary path. Now, on the other hand, because we are connected here through the species and through the consciousness that is inherent in all of us, we do have a greater connection here as humans, not just from a karmic perspective, but also from the perspective of our soul journey. Yeah, namely what it actually is that we're doing here. And this is something that you can only really see through this etheric vision or the sight, if you will, you know, how this actually plays out. And here's the big message for all of you. Never complain or send out the message to, you know, whatever, God, divine source, you know, the universe, that your sight and your empathy is a burden for you. Never. Because that creates all the schisms in you. What we all need to realize is that the fact that we can connect with somebody else's heart, the fact that we can connect with the planet, the fact that we can connect with divine consciousness, that's the mission. And if we feel victimized by this, or we feel like, oh, this is so hard to be an empath, oh, this is so hard to be energetically sensitive, well, guys, that's like you turning down your mission. And that's why that then ultimately creates schisms in you, because you came here with this, and it's an evolutionary step for all of us. Yeah, to tune into our spiritual side, if you will, to tune into our higher senses, not just the 5 senses, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th sense. Yeah, that allows us, to tune into vibrations, that allows us to tune into other people's emotions, that allows us to tune into higher consciousness. Okay. And if you perceive that as a burden, if you feel victimized by it, what you are sending out there is basically the message that you don't want the gifts that come with that you don't want to be in truth, that you don't want to feel the pain of seeing all the things that are going wrong. Yes, this is painful right now. This is not a fun experience. It's the moment where you have to remind yourself that you as a true self came here for a reason. This is one of the biggest transformations in human evolutionary processes. Why? How can I say that? Well, I wasn't there 6,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, because we are all waking up to this awareness right now. This huge. This has never happened before. We've had avatars, we had sages, we had mystics, we had people who carried part of this, who taught these things, and they, wrote cool stuff, and other people, learned from this, for thousands of years. We're now approaching a time phase where we can all become sages, where we can all tap into this divine consciousness at will. And that's what this is about. This is what the connection with true self is about. Because in order to get there, in order to really use this power, you need to have the freedom to think for yourself, to see for yourself, to feel for yourself, and to will for yourself. That's the mission. And that doesn't mean for yourself as in self-gain. No, you need to make sure that the thoughts you're thinking are yours, that the emotions you're feeling are yours, that the decisions you're making are yours, that the truth you're feeling is yours. Only so can you make a stance as a true self. But without being willing to look at truth, to feel truth, to allow truth be the foundation for your inner relationship and the relationship with the world and other people, to be the foundation for your choices, there is no freedom, guys. And without freedom, you can't really turn into this, higher potential that you all carry in you. So you can tell by my preachery tone here. Sorry for that. I can get very passionate about this, as many of you know. The session was really all about this, and I'm not going to lie to you. This was not an easy session. This was a really rough session. And if you guys had, clearing symptoms, if you felt nauseous, if you felt like burping or whatever other clearing symptoms you experienced, if you felt discomfort during the session, then know that this isn't just you. This isn't because you are so bad or something like that. Clearing, is from an energetic healing perspective a catharsis. Okay, it's part of the healing process, and healing is not just mending what is broken or removing pain. No, healing in its essence means to increase our vibration, our vibratory rate, means to increase the place that we find ourselves in, yeah, in a way that we can out vibrate it. Those are all energy lingo words, yeah, relative to where we were before. So for example, if you are caught in fear, all right, then higher states, yeah, are not, you know, people are always thinking of the highest states out there, like bliss and peace and grace and all that. But the healing process really is a gradual process. Spontaneous self-healing can occur, but this requires a person to really be in truth with themselves. Yeah. But relative means that if you're in fear, you know, if you feel anger right now, or if you feel outrage, you know, if you feel injustice, okay, not the kind of injustice that pulls you back into your victimhood, but the injustice of, or what Cheryl just represented here, this like other sort of like, how can this be? Yeah, I don't know what that's called in English, like where you just look at things and you're like, wow, how come others can't see that? Yeah, then that's a healing process. If you're in fear, yeah, and you're like, oh my God, and nobody's seeing anything and everything is going to go down the drain, or yeah, then that's a downward spiral. If you are willing to go higher in vibration, yeah, then the same thing that you're looking at, yeah, let's say you're looking at the pain of the world or the pain of the individuals, or there's multiple examples right now, yeah, then you don't have to go into fear. You can say, all right, this is part of the process. Yeah, it's just like when you look at a 2-year-old and you know that, you know, them falling down, bumping their head or scraping their knee is part of the process. It's part of the overall process. And in that overall process, that journey to truth, yeah, that then allows us to connect with the freedom to have our own thoughts and control and manage our own thinking and feeling and willing. Okay, that connects us all. There, we're all one. But you know, we're all in different stages of growing into this, yeah. And so Cheryl and anybody else who feels this, tune into that sort of, it's almost like a maternal, motherly perspective, where you look at people and you see that they're struggling, yeah, but it's not about taking the pain away. It's not about taking the struggle away. It is exactly that struggle that is going to lead them there. Just like with yourself. If it wasn't for the pain that you've experienced with not being truthful with yourself and the world, you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't feel the desire to connect with your true self, to internalize your journey, and you wouldn't feel the desire to connect with others and share. Recognize that as a power. Use this to rejoice. Use this to sanctify your journey. And with it, also the journey of people who are just not there yet. Yeah. And that said, yes, there is a lot of darkness out there. Yes, there is a lot of untruth out there. And we can even be grateful for that. Because how do we get into our higher potential? By experiencing the pain of getting stuck wherever we are stuck. It's different for everyone. That's then what gives us the power, yeah, to get past our ego. So when you meet people who are stuck in their ego, according to your observation, what do? You wish them all the best. But you're also not naive, because you know that if somebody's stuck in their ego, whatever comes from them, yeah, whatever judgment or whatever, you know, they're saying to you, or, you know, how they're handling things or what they're deciding, is based on different values than yours. So yeah, I can only chime in with you, Gerald. We need to let that go. We need to, or Linda, you said that, we need to stop struggling, stop getting distracted with other people's egos. That's like getting distracted by a 2-year-old who throws a tantrum. I mean, of course, it can be quite distracting if that happens in the middle of the grocery floor or, you know, in inopportune situations. But don't ponder, don't ruminate about this. Keep going, keep moving forward. And don't complain about your sight or about your empathy, because those are the fuel for this journey. They are the ones that show you the bigger picture. They show you how we're all connected. Even if people are, you know, destructive to it themselves and sometimes others or even you, then it is your will, it is your thoughts, your feelings that are in truth that have to carry you out of that situation. Yeah, you have to make the right decisions. That's then the congruence. So that's what connects us all. Yeah, and I repeat this, the big message here in this session, apart from many other things that came forward, is to stop complaining about your ability to feel other people's emotions, your ability to see things and to feel things spiritually, because that is a power. You just need to learn how to manage it. Okay, so a lot of empaths and energetically sensitive, you know this, I've been working with energetically sensitive for over 15 years, have unmanaged empathy. I don't know how to use it right. Okay, and therefore absorb a lot of energies from others. That's something that can easily be fixed, guys. That can be trained. It's a training thing. Okay, but to be able to feel it in the first place, to have empathy, that's an evolutionary stage. Okay, so don't ever go against this. You're going against your own, well, if you will, higher potential, if you go against your own sight and your own empathy. Yeah, so that's kind of like the context in which we experience the session. And the process here during this session, and this is not just obviously not just the energy session per se, that's the process that we see ourselves in here as a collective. That's why I chose this time, yeah, where we can tune into the collective. Why? Because when the moon is covered by our shadow, that's when we can feel it more. And it wasn't fun here from the facilitator side of it. And that's not a complaint. I'm just letting you know that if you didn't have this like, oh, blissy feeling, okay, that this isn't a sign that you're not able to or something like that. No, this was designed to be a clearing session. This was designed for us to amp up our own inner connection and to step into this responsibility, into this internalized true self. Yeah, and that's often not comfortable. That goes against our ego, and that's why they were extremely strong clearing symptoms here between your second and third chakra. That's also where the nausea comes from. Yeah, and it has to do with identity, with letting go of your false self. That would be something that both Linda and Cheryl mentioned, and really tuning into, you know, where your life force originates. Yeah, and the emotions here were triggered big time because a lot of them are linked to our ego. Yeah, the ego is the one that makes us emotional. The ego is not what makes us having emotions. So emotions are really important as inner signals, but reacting in an emotional way or projecting our emotions, which is the case for most of you, that is an ego notion. also, obviously, and this has to do with the times that we're in, there's a lot of fear right now, and you know, a lot of regrets and disappointment and things like this. So that's all just part of the clearing process. We have to let that go. We have to live up to the moment, yeah, and recognize that this journey is a journey of spiritual mastery, and we're still in the infant or you know, elementary level of this. So, you know, the connection with the greater whole, which is the one that happens here through a sixth and seventh chakra, and in your sixth chakra, your third eye was super wide open. This started right when the session started. Yeah, it was right there. Yeah, and then there was resistance here, yeah, in your third eye, in your sixth chakra. So it felt like a band around it at first 5 minutes, and because there was such an instantaneous emotional reaction, like Linda described it, there was the need for us to manage something, to learn how to slow down our energy, to learn how to tune in instead of trying to resist it or escape it. And then like right around the 10-minute mark was you know, really strong clearing. Yeah, and made me, it felt like a purge, guys. And then, you know, and this was sort of then the first well, like sort of until the halfway mark. So between 17, 18 minutes till 30 minutes is all about our expressions and how we actually handle things and how we deal with truth, a relationship with truth. Yeah, that was still a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, it became aware to us that this is a big integration process. And then right around the halfway mark, a little after that, really this vision, yeah, the spiritual vision really opened up for us and allowed us to see the greater part. So this also when the messages came in, and when it became clear why we're here, everything relaxed a little bit. And funny, the last 5 minutes were really intense, actually, in a good way. So if you didn't fall asleep, or if you know, didn't get too confused by these heavy clearing symptoms, the last 5 minutes were actually really beautiful. Yeah. Co-facilitators, you can chime in here. What was that from your perspective, just to break the ice a little bit? We have a few more minutes to talk about experiences, and also for you guys to ask questions, maybe about your personal energy. Annette, you typed a few things here in the chat and commented while I was talking. From the start of the session, the energy tried to speed up, almost insisting. Yeah, that's what clearing energies feel like.
Yes, and Jona, at the beginning of the session, it was like that. It felt very emotional. There was like a heavy burden, even like a loneliness and a separation sort of feeling through the session. But like you say, at the end, it was like a power clearing. I just got a lot of heat and just felt a real shift, like everything was just thrown off.
Yep.
Yeah, so
it was kind of like a necessary thing we had to go through, you know,
yeah,
to come out on the other side, to realize, okay, yes, you know, there's a loneliness, but why? Because we're making ourselves lonely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that focusing on the burdens and the feeling and feeling, oh my God, this is so much happening, and feeling the intenseness of the emotions and
the complaining and the injustice and the regrets and the disappointments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It felt like that circling around the outside and only seeing half the picture, and it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, we got to see the whole. There's a bigger picture. That's not a small part of it, but yeah, there's stuff coming up, and to be able to see what's coming forward to be faced, but then integrating or connecting to the bigger picture, that it's everything that you were saying before about, I love it when you were saying the place where all true selves gather. It was like, that was so cool. At
Yeah,
an
I mean,
energy,
as a visual person, you can, yeah. I mean, for me, as a sort of a Viking girl, it's like Valhalla, that's why we're all hanging out and celebrating. But obviously, it's more about, this understanding that we all form fields, and that our thoughts and our emotions and our expressions, that they form fields. And we can't tune into this togetherness, okay, if we are complaining, if we are making it all about, us not being good enough, or it being so hard for us, or if we focus on the things that we can't do. Those are all things that are human, that are, part of our personal, like experience, and we have to learn how to contend with that. But we also need, and you said this beautifully, Julian, we're only seeing half the picture if we get wrapped up in our own fears, in our own pain, in our own anger. Yeah, there is a bigger picture, and that bigger picture can only open up for yourself if you can tune into the greater being of it all. All right, and then you see, okay, there are certain things here that we have to go through. Yes, we have to live with the confrontation with untruths. This is actually something that propels us into higher truths. Yes, I need to experience the pain, the ego pain, yeah, of repeating the same karmic stuff over and over again, so that I can finally see that all I really need to do is one step out of that repeat. Okay, we need pain, we need untruths, we need these things, because we have the ego, and the ego is there to keep us in 3D, if you will. It was designed as a fail-safe for us to survive 3D. But and this is where we're at right now from a collective developmental point of view, if we want to grow into our higher potential, well, then 3D ego isn't going to get us there. All right, period. So we need to integrate this, yeah, and work with this and say, okay, I recognize, I accept that I have an ego, and I understand the pain that comes with it, but it is the very thing that I came here for, to out vibrate, to grow beyond, yeah, to grow beyond the limitations of 3D, not as in the other extreme, yeah, that's the new age thing where you just go off into la la land and pretend that you don't want to be 3D. That is just as bad as, developing narcissistic traits, because it's just the other extreme. If you send out the message that you don't want to be here in 3D, well, I mean, it's a lot of my clients have that problem, because, you in a very difficult situation there, where you're fundamentally asking all the entities and energies out there, to take possession of you. Yeah, not like in the sense of possession per se, but in the sense of like, feasting on you, harvesting your energy, because you're not home. You said you didn't want to be home, so you left your house unlocked.
And when you come home, the pain's still there to be dealt with. It's like, oh no, it's still here. Oh my God. So it's flip-flopping sort of, in that I just feeling like the pain was sort of like to get the my own medicine. Like, it showed me, well, what do I do? This pain is here, yeah, but it's showing me something, and finding that within the heart, finding that within, going within. I don't know how to put it, but it's like medicine. It's like, oh,
yes,
there's that pain. I can feel it. Okay, I'm going to deal with it right now. I'm going to really feel into that. And
it's where it can be reconciled.
Yeah.
I think the word reconcile works really well here.
Beautiful word, yeah.
You know, so just so that that message is clear, you know, escapism and trying to check out, okay, is just as painful as you know, ego materialism. Both separate us, yeah, and both lead to us not really taking full possession of our own power. So the only way for us to really step into our power is to actually step into truth with ourself, and that's what the true self is for. The true self is not the shadow self. A lot of people get that mixed up. You know, they're afraid of looking at their true self. There's nothing to be afraid of when connecting with your true self, guys. All you will find there is love and compassion and empowerment and courage. Yeah. But it is the incongruence in you not really wanting to be that way. Believing that you have to be something else. Yeah, that you have to be in a different way, or that you have to be somebody. Yeah, and that comes from your ego. That's the third chakra push. So yes, there is a letting go process involved with that, namely to let go of your false self, let go of all these things. That does not mean that you can't function in 3D. No, on the contrary. It makes you a conscious person, someone who knows what their power is, and someone who knows what their mission is. And that's extremely powerful. Syria, I'm reading the chat here. You nailed it. It was exactly like you said. From the half point on, it felt easier. And then by the end, the sun came out. That's exactly how that process went here, this connection process with our true self. Yes, and Janet, you commenting that you felt the session come in a few days prior. That's very common. It's the moment when I start talking about it, when I start writing about it and sending out instructions, the field is already forming, and a lot of the if you will, symptoms can be felt. If you're energetically sensitive, you know, literally what you're feeling is the field that is forming, yeah, through this session. Yeah, and that's why you know, it's often not a surprise if this is very common for me, that I actually go through the session before the session already.
Jona?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, this, like I had mentioned in the chat, I was so sick, but it was this, it wasn't like, oh, I got symptoms for a day that were very extreme. And then to get on here and get onto this chat with you going, this was a very difficult session. It just, it all kind of like locked right in, and I could
Yeah, I mean,
the last 3 days.
you mentioned in the current energies thread, Janet, that you have been feeling sick. Okay, and I want to point out that this is a time for infectious diseases. Yeah, not to spur any fears around the COVID and RSV and all that. No, this is a time where when our first and seventh chakra is challenged in this way that it is right now, yeah, through all the collective developments. Okay, it's a time where our nervous system goes into overdrive. It affects all our glands, our biochemistry, and it is something where we become very susceptible to infectious diseases. Okay, mostly because our expression, our fifth chakra, isn't quite aligned yet. So my tip for all of you, and especially for you, Janet, because you have been having, you know, sort of, you know, full-on disease symptoms, and this is probably for the next 2.5 months, the best tip that I can give all of you guys to ease your clearing symptoms, to ease your energetic problems, and also your physical problems with this, is to drink lots of water. It is extremely, and I know I've been saying, I've been preaching this for like 35 years, but now I know why I've been preaching it for 35 years. It has never been as important as right now to stay hydrated. You've got to keep your lymphatic system lubricated, so to speak. You have to have channels that can help to detox all of that, whether it's thoughts, emotions, actual, you know, excretions. They need to go somewhere, and that is where a lot of people get this sickness from, is that they're not releasing properly. Yeah, this has to do with the fifth chakra, and it has to do with your choices. Yeah, and I know that we have doctors here, we have acupuncturists, we have naturopaths here among the audience. Yeah, and I'm the expert in the energetic aspect of that. And yes, everything that you know about your body, yeah, how it excretes, how it releases, how it detoxes, is also true for your energetic system. The mechanics are the same. Yeah, so we use grounding, we use centering as self-clearing mechanisms, but the body needs to be in the right place. Okay, and when you are challenged, say through disease or you know, through strong emotional processes that are going on, or even, you know, etheric processes that are going on, or a lot of ruminating or whatever, I know that it sounds weird, but drinking water helps. The number one reason for this big phenomenon of anxiety in the world is dehydration, guys. Do not underestimate it. And obviously, you know, the terrain that your body provides. Yeah, and I've talked about this many times. You can look this up on the YouTube channel, Higher Vibratory Diet. You need to create an alkaline terrain. Yeah, and that the best way to provide that is through raw fruits and vegetables, fruits in particular. Even though it's kind of intuitive for a lot of people, because they think that, you know, because citrus, for example, tastes sour, that it is acidic. No, it's actually not. It's alkaline. So those are all things that you can look up on the internet. I just want to point out the connection here with your energy management. Okay, so hydration is the first thing you need to pay attention to, and sleep, obviously, because in your sleep, now when you say bye-bye to your 3D consciousness, is where your etheric restores and self-heals. Yeah, so to all of you who having issues with carrying this pain of the world, with carrying, you know, all this collective energy right now, don't think that you have to suck it up. Yeah, and don't project out that it's so hard. Instead, manage it better. Let it go through you. You do not have to absorb it. Yeah, but for that, you also need to have some physical disciplines. Drinking water, sleeping, stretching helps. Then obviously not projecting your emotions, not, you know, asking for it, not getting distracted to other people's dramas. Yeah. And thirdly, making an effort to think your own thoughts. Yeah, stay away from all this projection in media about what to think about certain things. You know, and this includes conspiracy theories. Think things through yourself. Make an effort to have your own thoughts. This needs to be trained. Yeah, all that can be trained, guys. You guys are all true selves on a journey. Remind yourself of that. Don't complain about it. This is a wonderful, sacred journey that you're on. It's not special, but it's big. Yeah. And why are we on this journey? Do you know why? Because we can. Because that's our higher potential. So seeing the greater picture sometimes means recognizing why all these roadblocks and, you know, untruths and pains and all that are there. They're there to propel you into your higher potential. Okay, with that, I would like to close. There is a forum thread for the session where you can inquire about your personal stuff, if there's anything that you need clarification about, because we carried your energy through this session and protocoled your energies. Janet, let me look at yours real quick, you know, just so that you, yeah, so for you, it really is about recognizing the bigger picture here, connecting with, actually power clearing, the power clearing process came in for you. If this means anything to you, this has to, it's like the unified self as a clearing modality. What could also really help you was to tune into the spiritual aspect a little more, the spiritual, such as grace, you know, connecting with that sacred heart of you. The moment you connect with your sacred heart, all the fears and all the pains and all the victimhood and all that transcends. You know, so for you, it's more of a spiritual question right now. You have to recontextualize all that you're experiencing. All right, everyone. I'm wishing you a good journey. I'm wishing you lots of own thoughts and emotions and choices that come from within yourself. Wishing you a beautiful internalized journey. Yeah, and when you feel alone, remember that there is a place where all true selves and all those who've walked on this path before you and who will walk on this path are connected with another. And even here in 3D, we have live online meditations and discussions on Skype. Yeah, sign up to my newsletter or look at my website. There's all the links there. Thank you, everybody, for contributing, for sharing, for populating this place where all true selves come in. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Jona.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.